This video is going to walk us through how to take a quadratic equation in vertex form and convert it to standard form. So remember that vertex form is y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. This is the one where if you have a point in a vertex, you would start with vertex form. It's easy to identify from a graph. Standard form is y equals a x squared plus bx plus c. So this one is standard form. Having a little bit of trouble writing today. So what we want to be able to do is take this vertex form that we would be able to get from a graph or from a vertex and a point and be able to convert it over to standard form, because standard form is going to be easier for us to use when we need to solve quadratic functions, which is where we're headed. So here we have a vertex form equation, y equals 3 times x minus 2 squared minus 4. The equations that we're going to work in this video are going to be the same equations that we wrote from the previous video on writing vertex form from a vertex and a point. So if you have those, you could just use the same equations. Now for this one, if we want to go to standard form, what we really need to do is we need to simplify this out. And so here where we have x minus 2 squared, we would want to go ahead and figure out what is x minus 2 squared. So if you remember back when we did polynomial functions, when you're multiplying, if you're multiplying something binomial by itself, then you should end up with a middle term that is double the two terms multiplied together. But I'm going to go ahead and work it out over here using the box method. So we're going to distribute out the x, so x squared and then minus 2x. And then we'll distribute out the negative 2, so that's going to be negative 2x, positive 4. So because we're squaring a binomial, these two boxes should always match. That's why that shortcut, I don't know if you guys remember it, was a squared plus 2ab plus b squared, where a and b are the first and second terms of the binomial. So for us, we have x squared because our first term was x, and then our b squared was negative 2 squared, so that's positive 4. And then a times b is negative 2x, and we would have had that twice, once here, here, and here, and so that would make it negative 4x. So we can now say that x minus 2 squared is the same thing as x squared minus 4x plus 4. And then minus 4 is already part of the problem. So we're just going to be replacing x minus 2 squared with its worked out form. And that kind of looks like, let me fix my handwriting here, that's a 4. So the next thing we would want to do is distribute. So y equals 3x squared minus 12x plus 12 minus 4. And now we would combine like terms, which the only like terms we have would be these constants. So our standard form would be y equals 3x squared minus 12x plus 8. So vertex to standard. So this one is another vertex form. This was y equals negative 4 times x minus 5 squared plus 7. Now, since I just talked about that shortcut for the square binomial, I'm going to go ahead and use the shortcut to square x minus 5 squared. So x minus 5 squared, you would have x squared, and then negative 5 squared would be a positive 25. In the middle, you would have multiplied them together. So negative 5 times x would be negative 5x, and you would have done that twice, so that would be negative 10x. And then plus 7. So if you're a little confused on that, you can still go to the side, there's nothing wrong with that, and multiply it out. My students prefer the box method, so that's what I'm using. And you can see there's those two negative 5x's. So there's the x squared minus 10x plus 25, if you actually multiply the binomial together. Now we're going to distribute, so we have y equals negative 4x squared plus 40x minus 100 plus 7. And then we're going to combine those two constants. So y equals negative 4x squared plus 40x minus 93, because negative 100 plus 7 would be negative 93. And that's our standard form. So if you haven't tried any of these on your own yet, this would be a great chance to pause the video, work this one out, see if you can come up with the same solution that I will show you. So we're going to square x plus 6. And I'm not going to show the long multiplication on this one, but you are welcome to do so. So 1/2 times x squared, 6 times x is 6x, twice would make it 12x. And then 6 squared is 36. I'm going to distribute the 1/2, so that's going to make it 1/2 x squared plus 6x plus 18 plus 1. And then I'm going to combine my two constants, so this one would be y equals 1/2 x squared plus 6x plus 19. And that is your standard form. So this is how you go from Vertex to standard form.